studio panel. Alex Little is a criminal defense and litigation attorney, former prosecutor and former assistant U.S. attorney. And Chris Stazak is a former senior investigative counsel for the U.S. Congress and a former New York State assistant attorney general. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So quite the battle going on Capitol Hill between Jerry Nadler and the House Judiciary Committee and Attorney General William Barr. Nadler wants to hold the Attorney General in contempt of Congress if he doesn't turn over the fully redacted version of the Mueller report to certain members of Congress by 9 a.m. Monday morning. What does that mean to be held in contempt of Congress, literally? Chris, let me start with you. Or Alex, let me start with you. Sorry.
Well, Congress has the power to compel witnesses, to compel documents. That's what they're trying to do here. And the power to do so comes with it the power to force compliance. And they're going to do that through something called a contempt action, which eventually could lead to things like an arrest or fines.
Chris, your thoughts?
Alex is right as a procedural matter, but as a practical matter, when the Republicans held the House and there was a Democratic president, they held Eric Holder in contempt. Eric Holder never went to jail, and what he was being held in contempt for is the same thing that Attorney General Barr is doing now, refusing to hand over documents. Eric Holder never went to jail. Attorney General Barr is not going to go to jail over this. And one thing that is also important to keep in mind here is that one thing that Congressman Nadler is asking for is not just the report, but it's all the underlying information, including grand jury material. And that is prohibited under law. So there's a legitimate legal argument here on both sides.
Okay, and I think you were referring to the former Attorney General not putting forth those documents on the Fast and Furious investigation. I remember that. Now, my understanding is Attorney General Barr has made available a less redacted version than the public version and made it available to about 12 members of Congress. But no one seems interested in looking at it. If they wanted to see it, it's there for the viewing, right? Alex?
You know, it's unclear exactly who's got access to what parts. They haven't told what parts are unredacted, so we don't know exactly what the dispute is about. I think the bigger issue is not so much the redactions, but exactly what was mentioned. It's these underlying documents, the evidence. And one of the things that's interesting about this is, although there is grand jury material there is a means for a different committee, the Select Committee on Intelligence, the House Intelligence Committee, to get access to those materials because of the national security implications. And I think if the Democrats are stymied here, one option they may take is move this from the Judiciary Committee to the intelligence committees to try to get information that way, because clearly the Russian piece of this would give them a basis to get access to that, and there is a provision of law under the grand jury secrecy rules that would allow disclosure in those circumstances.
So this is quite a testing of the system of checks and balances.
Absolutely.
Do you think there's any chance the Attorney General will meet Congressman Nadler's demands to provide a less redacted version? And then, as you were saying, does it go to the courts? The question is, where's the line? Where does Congress's subpoena power end and the president's executive privilege begin? And Chris, let me throw that question to you.
That's a great question, and that's exactly what the courts are for. And again, specifically, I think in this case, the power of Congress to investigate is very broad, and it's been substantiated by the courts. But it's not unlimited. Every president since George Washington has been fighting Congress over one question or another, and that continues today. I think where the Judiciary Committee will have a strong argument is for the report itself and unredacted, and I agree with Alex, there are ways to do it that are appropriate. The bigger fight will come for all the underlying documents. I think over 1 million pages of every interview about every person involved in that investigation, including if they didn't do anything wrong. They will have a bigger fight and a tougher time in court obtaining that information.
Well, we know that this is a battle on Capitol Hill, and we see how it's playing out. But how do you think it's playing out with the American people? Do you think they're as interested in this as politicians are? Do you think they're more interested in the issues that are going to come about in the next presidential campaign? I mean, health care and immigration and all of the other issues on the table.
Yeah, I don't think the American public cares so much about the intricacies of what's in the report or how it's being done procedurally. But I think if you look at the historical precedent, and Watergate is a very good precedent, you know, the public wasn't that interested in that investigation either until there were tapes. There were tapes of the president in the White House saying some really, clearly connected him to crimes, which is one of the reasons I think the Democrats want access to the underlying information, because if they hold hearings, if there is a public sort of airing of the things that the president did, that may get the public very, very interested. And I think that's what the Democrats are after.
Chris, I'll give you the last word here.
I think that the American people, other than the people who watch news all day, every day, I agree with, I think, what you were saying earlier. They care about health care. They care about feeding their children. They care about college. I don't think they care about a subpoena fight on Capitol Hill. The people who like President Trump liked him before. They're going to like him now. And the people who don't like him aren't going to like him now.
Okay, nonetheless, the battle continues. We'll see what happens Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Alex Little and Chris Daszak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Anita, Senate job opening. Wyoming Senator Mike.